All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on this podcast. I know I'm kind of a new face on the podcasting scene, but I think we can all really jump in. It's really just an opportunity for us to have some conversations that are probably mulling around in our brain. It's like we got these ideas, these thoughts, all these kind of things, and I would just wanted to create a safe space for you and for me to ask these questions, to really get in the know, to get to know people who, we followed each other for a while. Maybe we, hugged one time when we met at a retreat, but this is a chance to really get intimate and really build some of those relationships, network. And I also really like to use that as an opportunity to spotlight the people who have made a big difference in my life, right? A lot of us are doing some really great things and we're very humble people. We don't want to brag. We don't want to give you that LinkedIn resume of all the stuff we're doing. So this is kind of just an organic way for us to bring that to the table, share it with you, see what resonates, and then it provides an opportunity for us all to really connect after this podcast episode, right? So without further ado, I want to turn it over to my guest today, Julian. Julian, so great to have you, man. Really appreciate you making the time. I want to not steal the spotlight from you in introducing yourself. I want to turn it over to you to introduce yourself to the people as you see yourself. What do you got for us, man?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah. So as I said, my name is Julian Compton. I am a realtor in the Toronto area. I've been doing real estate for about 12 years now. And then just over the last few years, I've become an avid runner. So really trying to put that forefront, having a child too, just 5 years ago, all kind of changed life as well as COVID, right? So trying to put some meaning to my running as well with a foundation and a campaign that I've created called Move for Change. And just trying to give back as much as I can and set examples as much as I can as well.
I love that. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. And for our guests, who are new to me as well, my name is Josh, and much like Julian, I wear many hats as well. Entrepreneur, author, retreat leader, all that kind of stuff. The list kind of goes on and on. But you know what? I think I really lead with being human and vulnerable. So, Julian, I can definitely relate to even how you introduce yourself, man. It sounds like you literally listed off so many different hats that you wear on a
Yeah.
given day. I can imagine that some of our readers probably got even tired, just trying to imagine what a day in the life of Julian looks like with all those hats. But, I'm curious, man, like which of those hats gives you the most joy?
Well, they all kind of add a joy at different times, right? And I think it's a life balance that we all have to try and partake in too. So obviously, like family is always number one. And as I mentioned, like having a kid now, she's 5 years old, and just like seeing her at the finish line for some of my races that I've done too. Has brought like tears to my eyes, and like one time I carried her across the finish line for one of the races, and like it just meant so much. And now she's becoming a little bit of a runner too. So just all that kind of combined is amazing. So it gives me purpose for not just my family, but for my running as well. And then with work, which is I work with my mom and my wife too. So again, that family hat and joy comes into it too. And then just to be able to help a lot of our clients are friends and family and people that I grew up in my area too. So just seeing people go through their stages of life and helping them to help with the first purchase of their home, or move from like a condo to a house, and being there with them through that transition. It's awesome, and it brings a huge smile to my face just to see people grow. And yeah, it's just awesome to be a part of that process too. So all those things I feel is just comes back to family at the end of the day, and that's like number one for me is for sure.
I love that, man. It sounds like you have a lot of ingredients in your happiness formula. It's not just really one thing that you need to lean all the way into. It's more of a balance of investing, not necessarily equally, but into all of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
try
beautiful,
to
man.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. You know what? I want to really dive into your insights around, real estate and all that kind of journey. But, you said something that kind of, it put a spark in my brain. And I want to ask you, have you ever thought about writing a book? Um, and this book is really, I think, something that could help a lot of people. I mean, because you're doing something that I feel is like uncharted slash very precarious for a lot of people who even think about it. you work with your mom and your partner. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so tell me about that, man. Because I think there's a lot of people who would be like, "Oh my God, give me the cheat codes,
Yeah.
please. How do you
Yeah.
bring this harmony? What happens here?"
Well, like yeah, a lot of people would be like, "How do you work with your mom?" Like so. I just believe like I've been always really close with my mom, obviously, since a young age. But at the same time, like working together, the joys and the good thing about real estate too is that you're not like together all the time. Like I'm in the office by myself right now, so I try and schedule it so that I have my time that I can focus on, and then we have our team time to work on things. So it's just organizing it so that it's not too much of anything, like not too much of me being by myself. Because real estate can be really lonely, so that's why it is a huge bonus to have my family within it too, because I can just be on online and just be messaging people and contacting people, but there's no like joy to it sometimes. But when we have a team, then we can do that there. And then with my wife too, again, same kind of thing. Like we're just kind of try being on different schedules, and she does a lot of our staging. So she's at the property a lot. So it's just all different dynamics that we use together to make a great process for our clients, and then
Yeah,
at the same time make it equally as good for us personally, so that we are not on top of each other and nagging each other. Like there are those moments for sure, like any relationship, that
yeah,
nothing's perfect, right? But I think at the end of the day, when we can kind of each do our thing properly, it just kind of comes together. And for my mom and I, it took a little while for that to come to fruition a little bit, in the sense that she was in the game for 10 years before I even got in. So she knew exactly what to do, and I'm trying to bring in different ideas. So it's just that kind of that battle. And with things moving so much faster over the last few years too, like, and just the data that's coming out and the accessibility for people to have that data before it was just us being able to give that kind of information out. But now you can just go online and just find everything that you need pretty much, right? But so I want to try and bring certain things in that can be ahead of that and be more informational to our clients and stuff, to make sure that they make the best decisions. So it's a good dynamic that we're in now, to have like the old school kind of ways and then the new school ways, and kind of meld them together too at the same time.
got it. No, that's fantastic, man. And I think that kind of leads into my next question. Scrolling through your feed online, right? Like I notice a difference in the way you post around real estate and things like that, right? It's not just, hey, home for sale, this is the price, these are the features, contact me if interested.
Yeah.
There was a post the other day that I saw of yours, and you infused the word compassion into it. And I'm like, hang on, I've never seen anyone, in basically any profession, let alone a home, right? A home is a purchase that's so near and dear to us. And it's like compassion is one of those things that you hope a home brings to you. But now it's
Yeah.
like you extended it outward to like this individual who you are considering possibly working with.
Yeah.
Now they're framing this around compassion and, just bringing that as part of what they bring to the table. So, I'd love to hear from you. And, I think this would be valuable for everyone listening because we see lots of ads for different real estate agents and people doing that kind of thing. So, what's the Compton difference? Like why do you think people really love working with you and your team?
Yeah. Well, yeah, as you said, like the people that you see a lot of more so is just trying to churn out ads and stuff, and just some of them are a little bit more transactional based, right? So we really want to try and make it a relationship, because we're stuck with people for 3 to 9 months to a year sometimes, of just going through the processes of things, and we learn a lot about each other, the clients, and ourselves too, and we know a lot of information, and we have to deal with the dynamics of a husband and a wife sometimes. Sometimes a grandparent or a parent are in the mix too, if money, like when money's involved too. So we have to try and make sure that we're making everyone happy. So
Right.
I think again, to having like my mom and then me, if it's a family-based kind of situation, then we can really, my mom can kind of be like the mama lion,
Yeah.
for them, and make sure that they know that they're going to get her and me, so I can understand a lot of the numbers, and and I'm very patient and calm. So we have the a little duo there that can kind of help people to make sure that everything's going to be as stress-free as possible, and we're going to walk you through it. And we always try and just like bring in our own personal examples of our transitions from a condo to a townhouse and all those kind of things too, just to make sure that people understand, okay, we've been through it too. And when we're going through these steps, like we have a mortgage broker, we have a lawyer, that we have home inspector to make sure that things are good and understanding of what you're getting yourself into. And just we wanted to make sure, yeah, that it's really more of a relationship. We're building it not just for, just for this one transaction. We want to see you go from your first to your dream home. We want to see you get your kids a home down the road, like all those kind of things. And so that's why we want to that's why we do try and bring a lot of community events into our uh into what we do. So just to bring people together as well and to
Mhm.
understand that when you're invited, you're part of our family too. Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful, man. That I think definitely sets you guys apart tremendously. And on top of the great vibe and the great energy that you can feel through the posts and the different things that you guys write and put out there. Was that kind of like always your approach, or was this more of like a thing that you guys developed along the way as you were getting your feet wet and understanding the industry? And it's like, okay, well, you know what, we need to set ourselves apart. How do we do this? And I ask you this because I know you to be a very intentional, mindful, masculine energy, right? So, was this an intention you kind of just set out for, and this was kind of something that came naturally to you guys, or this was more of a deliberate, hey, we need to do this approach in order for us to, engage with the community and really make this a success?
Yeah. I think it was more of an organic approach. Like when my mom started, we're in the Don Mills area of Toronto, and this is where she grew up too. Like she went to the same high school I went to, so we know the area very well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for me personally, I was always out doing a lot of networking when I was in my 20s before I started. So, and trying to throw some parties back in the day. So I think it came really natural just to like contact people and to do my check-ins with people. So it just became very natural, and that's what all I've been really doing ever since. And it's just been, yeah, just what I do kind of thing, right? Just even if I hardly ever talk about real estate with people, but it's just those check-ins with people and just, seeing how their family's growing and all this such. And then they're like, "Oh, I'm looking for a place." And it's just like, okay, let's just get the ball rolling. And it's not like I got to learn a little bit about them already. They trust me, and I trust them with the information that I need to get from them, so that we can go through the process. And even when I started to, people were like, "Why are you wearing a suit? Like, I know you. You don't need to wear a suit." Like because you felt like you had to be proper and such, right? So with COVID, it really like changed the game a little bit, but before that, I was just like, if it's a new client that I didn't know, then I would kind of present myself a little differently. But if I knew them, I would just come with my hat on and such, and like some people would be like, "Oh, sorry." They're like, "Don't even worry about that. Like the hat or wearing a suit is not going to make a difference of who you are, right?" So I think that just came really organically to just be more relationship based, and I had a big network already, so it's just kind of naturally just keeping in check with people.
Nice. I like that. And it's interesting you mentioned like, how COVID sort of shifted the whole like professional image, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Because like to some who they might be like, oh, hat, some guy's coming with a hat and he's going to be my agent. To me personally, that would have me more sold than anything because like you're not trying to smoke and mirror me with anything,
Yeah,
right? You're
yeah.
just coming to the table, you're saying, hey, this is authentically me, much like I'm trying to come to the table and be like, hey, this is authentically me. Can we work together? Can we vibe? Can we get this thing done? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, kudos to you, man, for really leaning into that approach. I really love it. I think it's really
appreciate it.
awesome. Um, you mentioned that now, the information that people are accessing when they're making these decisions around, real estate purchases and whatnot, it's not how it used to be, right? We got the Googles, we got Chat GPTs, all that kind of stuff. So, for people who are kind of, taking it that approach versus talking with someone like yourself, right, who's, boots on the ground, real person type of thing. I can imagine it's incredibly easy for them to get overwhelmed with a lot of these data points and studies and trends and all of these kind of things, right? So, for you, what are you noticing people are really getting, I guess, hung up on when they're doing their own independent research, right? Because, for example, we got out of the real estate game after being in it for a little while, right? Because we started looking at these trends and this and that, and getting some advice as well, right? But at a certain point, it just didn't feel too aligned with us and where we were going, right? So, what would you say that people ought to pay attention to, and maybe not focus too much on before actually getting into a conversation with someone like yourself?
Yeah. Well, kind of what you touched on a little bit is just to make sure that you are aligned with where you kind of want to go. And I think that's kind of where we come in best of just being like, okay, you're kind of looking at it at all these different ways. So we want to kind of just stop there and okay, go through all the things that you're is needed for you, right? Like, is it location? Is it a certain house type and such, right? So we want to make sure that we get the details right and understand, like, because some homes will show, oh, it's listed for 699. It's like, oh, okay, I can afford that. It's gonna go maybe 750 or something. I can afford that, you know. But then you see that there's an offer date, and it doesn't really show that sometimes on what people are looking up online. And it's just like, okay, that's actually they're trying to get it. They listed it really low, and it's gonna go for like 1 million or something, right? It's just like why didn't I know that before, kind of thing, right? Why do they play these games? So it's understanding the area and the home type too of what's going on. Because if it's a condo right now, let's say, then you're going to be able to get it under ask, like for sure, just because there's just so much inventory. But if it's in a pocket that's moving right now, and some of them are listing it low so that they are going to get higher offers and such, right? So it's just understanding what is going on for that specific area and home type, and then to understand exactly what your needs are, right? So I always tell people, think about the things you can change and think about the things you can't change, right? So location, the home type, like if you want to have a backyard or not, because some people are just like, I just don't want any maintenance. I just want condo or a townhouse condo that is just a cement backyard and I don't have to do anything, right? So it's just understanding those little things. And we do also get, like for our office, we have a lot of agents here. So it's about all the networking that I do within my own office too, right? Of like, okay, what's going on? Like even right now, there was a meeting or a little gathering about just people talking about all the listings that they have and buyers that they may have. So we can kind of do a little inside scoop of what's available. And if something pops up that is maybe not on the market or coming soon, then we can possibly get people in that way too. And just kind of speed the process up in an easier manner sometimes. But it is just really trying to take what people like to look at too, if it is like realtor.ca or House Sigma, and going along with it because I don't want to take that away from them too.
Yeah.
I want them to feel like they're in control, and kind of captaining the ship at the same time. And I'm just in the back, like just readjusting to make sure that they're going where they need to go, right? So
Right.
we want them to feel in control and that it's their choice too. We don't want to tell people, okay, don't even look at this site because it's all over the place and whatnot. But we want people to, yeah, look at those sites. Okay, that's what you really like. Send me stuff from that site too, and then I can kind of readjust our criteria if needed. And then now, like a lot of the apps too, that we use, kind of interact with the buyers too, and they can kind of adjust things accordingly. Because sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, I'm actually getting more money from my grandmother and stuff too. Like we can go up an extra $50,000 or something." And that sometimes they don't like tell me sometimes, and then I'm just like, "What? If you told me, we could have possibly put an offer on this other place instead of that one or something along those lines, right?" So it's about having that open communication as well too, right?
Right. No, I like that, and it sounds almost like an approach that I would see and experience, say, at a retreat, where you're almost being guided. You're not being told your experience is wrong, but you're almost being guided to really get in touch with your whys and your needs and your desires and things like that. So you can actually communicate that, right? Because we all know that in the information age we can feel like we're drowning in a sea of all of this generic information that while it has its uses, it might not really apply to our given situation, right? So
Yeah.
that kind of gets that overwhelm and, spinning our wheels and things like that. So,
Yeah. And like it's also, I put people in positions where, okay, let's just put in an offer in. We know we're probably not going to win this one, but just so you can understand the process and stuff too. And then, like sometimes it's up till 10 p.m. and they're like, oh my gosh, it takes this long. And I'm like, yeah, this is the process, right? So then the next time that they understand and can see like, if we don't need these conditions in necessarily, then we could possibly have a better chance of winning it and vice versa and stuff, depending on the home type, right? So just these little things, right?
yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I want to move on to another question that I think younger buyers, especially right now, are conflicted with and seeking guidance on. And if I'm being honest, I think a lot of them are kind of just throwing their hands up in the air and being like, I don't even want to waste my time even thinking about it, getting excited about it.
Yeah.
I remember when I was growing up, renting really had this sort of stigma attached to it. It was almost like you're a lesser person if you choose to rent.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you didn't make it. I guess you were the slacker in class. That's why you're renting.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of us really moved into that perspective of like, let's work, let's make sure that we have the asset to our name kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
Now, over time, it's interesting because it's like things have come back full circle right now. And a lot of people that I've spoken to, they're like, damn, like I wish I didn't have this mortgage. I wish I really was just renting.
Yeah.
Right. So what are you noticing and what would you say to people who ask that? Like, is a house, a home, is that an asset anymore in the same way, or is it more of a liability?
I wouldn't say it's a liability unless you, buy at the wrong time and sell at the wrong time, right? The only time that you're really losing is when you sell at a loss, right? But for the most part, most people are going to be needing a home for their life, right? So, but at the same time, if they're wants to possibly travel a lot or don't know exactly if they're going to be staying at their current work at that for a long term, then I tell people like just feel out what you can do. Like if it's a good time to buy a certain thing, then
Hmm.
buying may be the best option. But if things are crazy and renting is the main thing right now, then rent and then let's every year come back and see what we can do. Because I had clients help them find three leases over the last few years, and then they just bought their first place this year, and it's just like they feel so much better just because they don't have to worry about the landlord kicking them out because that's what happened each time, right? So, but if you're in a rental apartment, then like okay, you can be set for a long time and you understand that, but there's just not as many rental apartments or like long-term rentals that are, that you don't have to worry about every year being like, oh, am I going to be here again, or do I have to move again almost every year, every 2 years, right? So it all depends on on their situation, but it's if it's a long-term situation that you're in, I'd always advise that maybe buying would be the best option. Even if you are, because like let's say people that bought in 2022 and that are selling now, they're losing like almost like 20% of what they bought for, right? So it's a tough situation, right? But if you bought then and you're selling 15 years from then you're going to be in a good position, right? Like even if you want to take equity out of it and still there and then buy something else for yourself or just to bring down some of your other debts and such, then that's what you have the options for. That's the good thing of having it be uh being an owner, right? You have those kind of options down the road.
Hmm.
But it is tough just to think down the road when everything's so expensive right now. Even like rent has gone up a little bit. It's starting to come down now with not as much immigration coming in and such, right? So and just a lot of like condos out there, especially for the condo market. Then rents are coming down too. So it all depends on the situation. But I always like to try and have that conversation with people and just be
Hmm.
like, okay, let's just see your situation. Let's just see where you stand right now first, what out of mortgage situation, if you even are eligible, right? If not, then we're just back at square one, right? But if you are like, oh, I can afford this. I didn't even think I could afford this, right? And so, and then if you get into the game, that is the fastest way to get to a bigger house down the road, especially if you're single. It's tough when you're single, but then you get a partner, and then it's like, okay, double the income almost. We can get a bigger place, and then I have my place, she has her place, or he has his place, and then we can double our money and sell those places, or you keep one for an investment and then move up, right? So when you're renting, it's just hard to have those options
Mm,
available to you, right? But again,
understood.
getting into the market, down payment and such is the hardest part, right? So
Mhm.
if you don't have a big down payment or the help of mama and data bank, then it's really tough to get in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. Just one more question for you before we, shift gears a little bit away from real estate and into some of the other things that you're involved in. If you don't mind sharing a little bit about the concept of negative amortization. And I ask you about this because, this wasn't a term that was really on my radar at all. As we were, as we owned our property and things like that, you get those paper statements from the bank that no one opens. We all just toss it in the trash. But I was looking at it one year and it was like December, so they sent you like the whole like January to end of December statement. And so I'm looking at it and it's like, okay, yay, I think I'll probably be at like 24.5 years by the time this year is done. And
Yeah,
then all of a sudden, I'm looking at it, it's like, hang on, what the hell happened? Now I need 27 and a half years. What are you talking about?
yeah, yeah,
So this is a concept that I kind of learned not intentionally. It kind of just like life smacked me in the face and it's like, okay, you got to learn what is negative amortization. So is this something you can share on just a little around what that concept is and maybe why it's something worth being mindful of as we are making these payments toward our mortgages and things like that?
yeah. I mean, like, I'm not the best person or best versed person to talk to about necessarily, but at the same time, like, I always say just talk to your mortgage broker when it comes to that, just to make sure that you are understanding the exact numbers. But
Mm,
to your point, it's like kind of like if when you're refinancing, if you do have a place, or if you're on variable or fixed, that makes a difference too. And then yeah, when you're refinancing, like, are you going to be putting more money into it or staying there? And are you going to be going to a variable or not? Then that can kind of add or take away from your amortization, right? And a lot of people are like refinancing and then adding more years to it, from going from a 25-year to a 30-year, just to be able to have a lesser payment. But then
right.
yeah, you're just adding more to the longevity of your mortgage, and then therefore more interest, right? So, and some people have even a fixed mortgage where if the rates do change, then their monthly payment doesn't change, but the amount of interest where the money goes is different,
Okay.
right? So you're paying $1,500 a month, let's say, and then instead of it being like 50-50 of interest to principal, it'll be like 60-40 to interest to principal, right? And then that's where you're like, okay, I thought I was paying it down, but it's actually no, now I have that from 24 to 27 years, So it's just those little things that you have to understand exactly what kind of mortgage you're getting yourself into, because
Yeah.
it's not just a variable or fixed. Like, there's variations to each of those, how much of a rate that you're going to get from which bank and such too, if you're changing banks too during
Mhm.
during that time. And then you want to know even your rates of if you are to break the mortgage. If you're on variable, you don't have to worry about it as much. But if you're on fixed, I have like 3 years left. Okay, that's going to be an extra 30,000 if I break it. So okay, I'm just going to chill for for now, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what you maybe need the money for, right? And everyone's circumstance is a little different. So it's just
Gotcha.
about understanding of what you're getting yourself into. As you said, a lot of people are just kind of, just signing and not reading fully through it. That's why we always do advise to talk to a mortgage broker, because they'll
Mhm.
break things down a little bit more, and they have more options to go to different banks and such. So it's not just one bank. And even some of our mortgage agents would be like, if you can get a better rate at your bank, go for it, because some people get employee discounts and stuff too, or incentives that way. So, but it's just we want to make sure it's the best choice for you, and they can still go through things with that person to break it down and make sure that they understand exactly what they're getting themselves into.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I appreciate you explaining that, man. That honestly, it taught me such a big lesson. It's like as annoying as these paper statements that come in the mail are, open all of them. Just take a quick glance, because like if I just relied on the email statements, I don't even open those, right?
Right.
So it's like, I would be thinking when I'm like 68, like why am I still paying this exact same
Yeah,
mortgage
yeah.
price?
I'm
Uh,
mortgage free. It's just like, oh, I still got another 10 years. Darn.
right? Awesome. Well, switching gears, I really wanted to open up the conversation to you around Move for Change, and just kind of what was behind, this movement that you've started. And I know that there's been different initiatives and things you've been part of. So, can you just share about that? Because it seems like it's very much something that brings you a lot of joy and has created tremendous impact already.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so again during COVID, started running and then the whole George Floyd situation happened too. And it just really like stuck with me and I felt like I needed to do something, right? And so that's where one day I was just thinking about like my dad and my baby that we lost too, just at the same time, and just thinking about them and what my dad would be like thinking about seeing what's going on with COVID and then the George Floyd situation. And my dad was like just loved politics and stuff too. So all the games that were being played and such, I just felt like I needed to do something. So one day talking to my wife and was like, I need to do something. I want to give back some way. And I was reading some like David Goggin kind of books, and he talked about putting all of his ultra runs to back to the veterans and stuff too. So I'm like, okay, I can give back to communities, especially like of color. And then thinking about the youth, having a daughter, like she was born in February of 2020. So, a month before everything was shut down. So it was really in my head of, being a new father, wanting to help, like what example am I going to set for her so that when she goes to school, she can be an example to make sure that co people of color don't get discriminated or girls and such, right? All those kind of things. And just for her to be a powerful voice in herself. And that's what she is now. It's amazing to watch. So I started the $1 per kilometer for each month to go to a different charity. Started with like Black Lives Matter, but then I really got into understanding of making sure that the charities and such that I wanted to align with, a lot of the money go to the actual people that needed it, right? Because reading more once I got into it a little bit more, and especially the with social media, all the appreciation and love that I got from it, I'm like, okay, this is something I can do because I think we raised like $1,500 the first month, and I'm like, okay, so like I can do this, okay? So now, and then I said it to myself, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and do this forever. So it's 5 years later. We've raised over 180 grand for different charities and stuff too, right? So it really did pick up, and it really did help for me to hone in with what is needed, the right types of information to display, the right types of people to connect with, and then just so I did a lot of running, obviously, got into the marathons, and then just really built a really great connection with the run community, and just seeing all those people, and a lot of them are wanting to not just be better for themselves, but be better for others as well. So it just aligns really well with, creating this kind of change for not just myself, but other people, and then encouraging people to tag along and run with me or bike or swim and whatnot. So I want to try and create even more of a powerful connection with others to do better for themselves and for others at the same time. So, and then it kind of snowball effect into helping do a fundraiser last year for my old high school. Again, it kind of all propelled from COVID when my old high school teacher, he has a green industry program, so he has a farm at the school, and he was giving students, fresh fruits and vegetables from the garden, and then raising like non-perishable goods for those kids too. So that was really ignited even more so with what I was trying to do with my Move for Change. And then I'm like, okay, how can I help to make the school even better too? Because I ran my first marathon on that track, and I'm like, the track is brutal. It needs something. So I created a proposal for Don Mills to do a new track, and then it snowballed into doing a new track. And then there's old basketball tennis courts in the back there that are like trees are starting to grow out of it. I'm like, that needs to be replaced. So we're gonna get. So we ended up doing a fundraiser. We did it last year, and we raised 160 grand for the school to do a new outdoor fitness area, like pull-up bars and such. And the TDSB is going to redo the track and new tennis courts, basketball courts. Hopefully that'll start like sometime this year. But it all just snowballed into what can I do more? And then even more so now, I'm just like, okay, what is my next like goal to push and to see how much we can help our youth, especially the kids, right? And just seeing my daughter, I'm just like, if she can run in that track as a new track, then that'll be nice for her, the third generation to go to that school. It'd be pretty cool. Yeah. Appreciate it. Well, so we are creating like a business kind of out of it so that people can create their own movements, we're going to call them, and then you can share it and have people join you on your little journey that you want to set. Uh but right now, like yeah, I have a little Instagram group where trying to encourage people to get moving as well. And we have our website, moveforchange.ca, just talking about what we have done and what is to come. So we are in the works of creating a platform for people to create their own. But right now it's just kind of join me, and then if you are wanting to collab or do something even on your own, it's just because it started off with I did a little GoFundMe page at first, and then people would go to that page. So what I would say, tell people if they're encouraged to get into running and to feel like because for me it really helped to have a purpose to for my runs, right? So when I didn't run, I'm like, shoot, like I'm letting people down, I felt, right? So when you have that kind of motivation and that purpose and that passion, then it just makes it a little bit easier. There's so many run clubs and so many causes that are tied to different races and such too. So I would just say just try and like just find whatever community you're in. There's going to be a little run club. There's going to be some 5K, 10K races or bigger ones. Get involved with those. But yeah, and then just to tie along, if you want to try and connect with us through with Move for Change, trying to get with different run clubs to partner up with them to see what kind of charities they align with and bring these kind of campaigns to them and to just bring more eyes to not only their like run club but to the good causes that they want to be connected with, because majority of as I said, the run community and the movement community want to tie themselves to something that they can create positive change with, right? And I think the healthier that you are for yourself, then the easier it is to help others too, right? Mhm. Yeah. 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 Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it can get intense sometimes. And especially like at the beginning when I wasn't as like I can remember when I did my first like half marathon just by myself and like I was shivering after, my lips were blue. I'm like, okay, I pushed way too hard. I didn't you don't realize it until you stop sometimes, right? Especially if you have a little bit of a pain tolerance, then you're like, okay, I can push through this, I can push through this, and then an hour later after you stop, you're just like, oh, okay, the body is really hitting, and it hurts, right? So it's just the little things of, a nice hot bath or cold bathtubs, that people do now. Those really do help after some runs. And then after event, usually I take like a week off sometimes two, depending on if it's like a marathon, you can when you if you're just beginning to, I would advise to take like a couple weeks off and just do like some just walking and such. But if you're into it a lot, then you can have a little bit of a shorter recovery. But it's just being mindful of like your schedule too, right? And I do know like when I do have a busy schedule for the next like couple of weeks, let's say, and then I'm like trying to train for a marathon. I'm like, okay, shoot, I gotta get my reps in so that I feel comfortable for the run, but I still gotta put food on the table at the same time. So, and then there would be times when I'm like stacking the days right after each other, and then a few days later I feel it, but just because. But that's how I had to get it in. So it's if you can schedule it to make sure that you have your days in between your runs, especially some hard ones, then that's very much needed. But it's just about, yeah, following your schedule and following your body too. Like, what I've really learned is that of how in tune I can be with my body now, right? And like I can understand just little tweaks of almost realigning myself while I'm in a run from a different little pain point that I'm feeling, right? So that's the beauty of running, I think, too, is just you really get to like hear your body and hear the little discomforts that you may not feel if you're just going for a walk because you do like my one hip. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that one hip was a little bit out of placement, right? Just because, okay, now I'm running a lot. But then you're like, okay, I can do these little things. You learn some little stretches that really do help. So mobility is a thing that I really learned over the last year is that I've been doing a lot more, and it's been huge and helpful for my recovery, especially. But yeah, it's just honestly just really listening to your body and just taking that time to understand that even just one little centimeter of adjustment here can realign your body so well. Mhm, mhm. Yeah, for sure. And like, yeah, this like when I first started, like because I was only doing like 5Ks every now and then, and I would push a little bit. So I always thought like that would be the speed that I need to be at all the time. And now I'm going like sometimes a minute less than what I would do for like an easy-ish run than what I was doing at the beginning because I didn't know, and I would always be at that same pace. But having that variability of, slowing down for some days and then like the hard days be really hard and then the easy days be really easy, right? So it did kick me in the butt a few times, like because you get injured, right? And if you don't do it properly, and as we get older, it's like all I'm thinking about is longevity. Like I want to be able to beat my kid in a race for as long as possible. You know, I'm that uncle, like I'm winning everything until I can't, you know. So, but and so that injury prevention is like top of mind for me now. But yeah, you do get humbled really easily. I've been lucky enough that I've finished all of my races that I've been in. But there are some ones where I was like, okay, I'm doing really well for this marathon, and like three-quarters of the way, it's just like, nope, the body is not going to be able to do this fully, right? And then you're seeing other people walking, and you're like, oh, I can do that. And then you're like, okay, start walking a little bit. And then once you start walking a little bit, then it's just like, okay, you're not going to be getting the time that you wanted. So the main goal now is just to finish, right? So, okay, just jog a little bit, walk here, but at the same time, like you do want to, as I said, you want to make those hard days pretty hard. So the mind is crazy. What I've learned that once you can push past certain limits a little bit, then it's just like, okay, it's not as bad as you were saying in your head too, right? Like I've had like crazy cramps and I'm just like, okay, if I can stick it out for one more minute, it should go away because trying to fuel properly. And then it does go away. And then I'm like, okay, I ran an extra 10K after that like cramp that I thought that should put me down, right? And yeah, so understanding the fuel too, like I didn't know about fueling properly at first, and then my first long run didn't fuel like at all pretty much. And I was like, I was exhausted after like cramping up, and just the recovery took way longer than I wanted it to as well. So I'm like, okay, I can't even move right now to go for a run in a couple days kind of thing. So it does kick you in the butt a lot, and it is a lot of learning and a lot of understanding of what your body can take and can't, and when to push those limits and not at the same time, right? So it's a lot, and I feel like a lot of guys don't want to ask questions too. They just Dory, I could do it, I could do it. Like I had a guy just yeah, I'm signing up for my first marathon. I'm like, oh, what's the longest run? Oh, like 5K, and I'm just like, don't worry, I'll be good. It's just like, okay, all right, let me know how it goes. So it's yeah, some people just have to, experience it first before they'll come back to you and be like, okay, can you help me? Like what do I need to do to change so I don't like feel like crap again during a run and such, right? Mhm. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? It's just getting through. Like I had all those pains and stuff too, right? And it does get better. Like as I said, the hard days are really hard if you're going to push for certain things, but the body does really respond in an amazing way. Like I didn't think my body could carry me through 6 hours of running, one time. So I was like, okay. And then watching some friends do 100 miler this past weekend, it's like 15 to 18 hours. Some people took 28 hours to finish, right? So you're just like on your feet constantly that long. But the more you do, the more your body can do, right? So it's about being in like any situation in life, the more uncomfortable it is, the more learning opportunity there is too, right? If you stick with it. No, no. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And even still too, like I've planned like some longerish runs and then I'm like 4K in and I'm like the body is not going to be able to do this. So turn around and get 5K in and whatnot. And I'm just like, that's what I could do today, right? And then make sure I just get those stretches in, get a hot bath in, and then, tomorrow's a new day. And as long as I didn't get injured fully, then that's the positive side. So, and as you said, it just relates to life too, right? And showing up every day for what you need and what you're passionate about, then it just kind of all when everything feels like it's aligning a little bit more, then it's just easier to keep going too, right? Mhm. Um, like just over the last few years, it's really come a little bit more forefront and to I think I can really build on resiliency and understanding like a lot of pains that one goes through and to understand that like when you have certain people around you and you put that as a forefront for yourself, then it's just going to help a lot more people kind of be able to walk the life that they want to walk. So I'm just trying to be as much of an example for everyone around me to just push a little bit more. And I feel like that's the legacy I want to leave. And it just doing that fundraiser last year really like, put a nail in the coffin of like, okay, this is what I'm extremely passionate about. And it all just kind of coincides with what I'm already doing. Just I think helping people, if it's from real estate side or doing volunteering with the kids and helping create a new track and a new safe space for them. So having that was being done last year was amazing, and it's still kind of surreal in a way that it actually happened, and it's not built yet. So I still feel like it's a dream that just happened. But at the same time, talking to people in the community and when they heard about it and then it's just like, oh, it's you that did that. I'm just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. They're like, oh, how big was your team and stuff? And it's like, me and a couple other people maybe like, but like majority of it was on me, and it just shows that like, but when you ask the right people for just a little bit of help, and when they see you doing something positive, it's a lot easier for people to join you on that journey, right? So obviously, couldn't have done it by myself. Had a lot of people and learned a lot. So if I do something like this again, which I foresee I will do that, building that team from the beginning will help to just make things go a little bit smoother and faster. But at the same time, like even when you feel like there's no, sight of the end, if you put it out there to the universe, like the people will show up. That's a tough one. But I think like you touched on it at the beginning, I think you're a similar guy, but I'm extremely humble. And I don't like to like boast it. Like even just talking about all this stuff, I feel like I don't want to talk about it too much, but I do know that it does help, right? When people hear it and it's just like, and if they didn't know this stuff about you too, right? But I just I always tell people to the simplest way is control what you can control, because there's so much noise out there and so many people and things pointing you in all the different directions and such, So it's simplify everything as much as you can, you know, and don't be too far ahead. Don't think about the past too much. Like, I can't remember who said it, but, they call today a present because it's a gift, So you got to be in the moment and control what you can control. That's the simplest way I can and put it. And as I said, just if you put the right things out there, the right people will come. Likewise. Mm. Um, Probably, just I think I can do more than I think I can do, like when you set out a goal, some of the things are feel outlandish and such, and it's just if it's not yourself, but having someone to just be that cheerleader that you need, right? Just for like sometimes that one day of like if it's if you're sitting on the couch, then that whole day is done. But if you just have that one person be like, let's just do this one thing, just quick and get it out of the way. And then that's like, oh my gosh, snowball effect into doing something else. And then you're just like, oh, the goal that I did set out is achievable because I just did it and I think I could do it, right? So it's about just trusting in yourself. And so people that have when I've told them something and not being like, I don't know about that one, like I do use that as fuel, but at the same time, when you're feeling down and you have that person being like, no, 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 get up, like just do that, just do one more, and then we'll take a break if you want, but we'll keep going if you want after you do that one more, and just doing that one little more step, you know, and then when you see yourself walking, just one step in front of the other. And then if you're sitting down, you're not stepping, but if you're taking just one step, then you're more inclined to keep going too. So I've had that push that really helped me. All right. Oh yeah. There's some grays. The lighting is good today. Appreciate it. Yeah, people can just find me on Instagram, Julian Compton. We have Team Compton for real estate on Instagram as well, and Move for Change TO on Instagram and Facebook, all the same things there. And then yeah, we have moveforchange.ca for our site, kind of just talking about what we've done, what charities we've worked with, and what's coming up. We're hoping to have our beta kind of for that over the summertime to be done. So I'll keep you guys posted on that to push and to be able to, just get more eyes on the people that need the most help, and to, put a little campaign to help yourself as well. And then our team-compton.com for our real estate there. All right. Thank- Like, all right. Thank you.